Welcome to Journey to Inner Wisdom. I'm Crystal Cotto Sullivan, your host today. I've been talking to people about their journey to inner wisdom, as well as exploring the many tools that assist us on the journey. As many of you have experienced, there are many tools, people, lessons, signs and messages, energy accidents sometimes, coincidences, synchronicities, dreams and visions, and so much more to guide us on this journey. We're here to figure out who we are and why we're here. And each of our journey is unique and full of wonder and wisdom. Today, I will focus on sound, vibration, and sound baths with Jordan Scott and Jilda Farias. So welcome, Jordan and Jilda.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Great to have you. So before we begin, I just want to introduce each of them and tell you a little bit about them. And as we talk, you'll learn more. Jordan Scott is a holistic health practitioner specializing in the spiritual and energetic healing arts of Reiki, shamanism, and vibrational healing. She's been exploring sound as a modality of healing since her first yoga teacher training in 2012, using mantra, breath, and toning to create specific effects on body, mind, and energy systems. Her connection to shamanism furthered her discovery of sound and song as a powerful healing tool, and she has been cultivating the power of her own voice for over a decade. She has studied holistic resonance healing in 2019, which expanded her understanding of the healing potential of conscious vibration. She offers public and private sound bathing sessions and integrates sound therapy to all of her treatments. She is also a reflexologist and holistic health counselor. Jordan created a State of Health, a holistic healing center and yoga studio in 2019 with her mother, Heather Scott, where she has drawn together several gifted practitioners and teachers to facilitate healing and growth for the community. Connection to nature and the healing potential within all of us continues to guide her on her path of learning, sharing, and loving. Welcome again, Jordan.
Thank you.
And Jilda, classically trained vocalist, Jilda Farias has been a performer since birth, always putting on a show whenever and wherever encouraged. I can just see that 4-year-old. This innate interest led to many opportunities studying the performing arts throughout adolescence and early adulthood. From joining community theater groups, performing musical theater classics, and entertaining folks with her favorite songs in retirement communities, to later on competing in music festivals and performing roles in operas in a range of different languages. Her love of storytelling has also deepened with experience. Since graduating in 2012 from the Cleveland Institute of Music with a Bachelor of Music in Vocal Performance, her community involvement, specifically her time conducting community choirs and musical theater groups, has piqued interest in the health benefits of vocal arts, from improving breath control, increasing vagal tone, and processing difficult emotions. In her mission to share amazing abilities of the human voice and help others claim their birthright to express themselves through song. Welcome, Jilda. Welcome both. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to talk about vibration and sound and voice. But before we do that, I would like each of you to talk a little bit about your journey to this point, because I'm sure there's more to the story than that little biography. And I'm sure there were moments of clarity in your journey of, oh, this is really calling me. You know, I think it's always interesting when someone is kind of born with that deep desire like you are, Jilda. It's like you just knew probably at an early age, your voice was your biggest gift. And to use it. I have a granddaughter like that, but hers is art. I think she kind of came out of the womb with like a pencil in her hand to draw, you know, it's kind of like that thing. So, but I know that each of you, there were probably turning points as well where you made decisions. So I'm just going to let you each talk about your journey to this point, and then we can get more specifically into the vibration and the sound. Who would like to start?
Jordan, you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'll kick us off. Yeah. All right. Well, I'd say that song has been an important part of my life from growing up.
Mm.
While I didn't have that initial, gift within me to blossom into, the healing arts of through singing like Jilda did. Music was important in my household. My dad used to sing to us as we were going to sleep, and that was just,
Mm.
part of my daily life, right? Um, and then I think, you know, just living and growing up in a household where singing was uh, allowed and encouraged, and, having that as an example really helped me to feel more comfortable in exploring my voice.
Mhm.
But I think it wasn't until, like I wrote to you before, like I think it was during my first yoga teacher training when I first noticed the power in using your voice and how that can create a holistic shift for yourself.
Mm.
One of the strongest points that stands out to me was when I was in uh, a class setting and we were all chanting this mantra. The word is ma,
Mm.
and it's a creative sound, the sound of life, like rising. And it was this continuous chant that the group was doing, so we all kind of started, and then because we're all different, where our breath would end, we'd just pick up and begin again. So it became this continuous wave, like like sound moving through the group.
Mm.
And it gave me chills throughout my body. It made me feel as if I was being held by something sacred.
Mm.
And that was really like a pivotal moment. I think I had not like a intellectual aha, but a visceral, intuitive aha. This is big. Whoa, there's something to this. And so I started to use mantra a little bit more in my own practices, teaching students to embrace mantra, not to be afraid of using their voices in class. Um, and I think, yeah, that was probably one of the biggest moments where I started to understand that your voice and sound can be incredibly healing and connect you to something deeper. Um, and then I think in my shamanic studies, that was another really important time for me in starting to really uh, understand the healing potential in using your voice and sound and song, because my own power animal gave me a song in one of my journeys, and this was a soul song. This was like or I call it a power song, and it was a way for me to very quickly connect with my higher self.
Mm.
So calling my spirit to be really embodied in my physical manifestation, and to feel the vibration, or to feel the energy of my potential. I guess it's like more than just my mind, more than just my concept of who I am, my persona and my physical body. It was an experience of something soulful,
Mhm.
And so that was like another really huge moment for me where I felt so connected to spirit or source, that divine consciousness, however that feels for you, whether you think of that as God or Allah and spirit. Um, and so I started to really hold on to that and use it more frequently in my treatments, just use it more frequently in my own spiritual practice. And I feel like it really accelerated things for me. Um, so it was like these these little seeds got planted and these moments happened, and that just kind of opened up my awareness, expanded my awareness. And so naturally I like to study, so I like to dive in and understand it a little bit more
Mm.
and explore it
Mhm.
in groups and classes and things like that. So I think that's kind of, those were the big pushes to get me to where I am now, and using sound as a healing modality, and sound bathing and vibrational healing sessions, and
Mm.
in my own spiritual practice.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it makes me think of, growing up with song. And Jilda, I'm sure using your voice, I think both of you will appreciate this, but when you think about moms holding their babies or dads and singing lullabies, but I can remember when my kids were little, my husband would sing, and he would say he doesn't really have a singing voice, but he would sing this deep, and it would he'd vibrate, and the kids would just calm right down, and he would sing Old Man River, like this deep vibration, and the kids would just fall asleep. And
So masculine, so safe.
yeah, exactly. It's like in the cave, they were in the cave
Yeah.
and they were safe, but I think that so often we really do have a lot of music around us, but we don't really pay attention to it often. Like I think about even in the morning when the birds are singing, oh my goodness, it's like amazing to hear them. I don't always appreciate it, at 5 a.m, but it's really wonderful to be in tune with all of that vibration. Yeah. Jilda,
It's
how about your
amazing.
story?
Yes, absolutely. One thing too, just a note on the birds. It's amazing how, with the changing of the seasons, they bring us into that, it's like, it's
That's right.
spring, wake up, let's get going.
That's right. Get out of bed.
Yeah. Time to get up and get at them. So, I was thinking about my pivotal experiences. Obviously, there was this time when I was definitely a solo artist. I would sing without an audience, and it was one of the most wonderful things. I grew up, my dad, he had this amazing 500 disc CD player full of any music that you could think of, so many different kinds, and it would be on random. And I'd be dancing around this living room. We had this beautiful living room with big cathedral ceilings, and I would try and make as much noise as possible. At that point, I don't think that the art and the craft of finesse, all that, had not come into play at that point yet. And I'm sure that's probably why I was gifted singing lessons at an early young age. So I was always wanting to make a lot of big sound. And then through that, being recognized by teachers that came along my path, I was really able to push the boundary of how big can I make my sound? And ultimately that brought me to opera. But if I'm thinking about, a very pivotal moment in the experience of energy exchange and performance, was definitely the very first time I ever got up on stage. Because I was so used to being my own performer, I recall the lights going up and feeling like hundreds of eyes on the back of me, because my back was towards the audience in my first experience. And I started playing a little piano on the stage, and this was a local production of The Music Man. And I was Amaryllis, and I could just feel the energy of the audience being just given to me, and I was kind of hooked from that moment. It was an experience that, with this audience's energy being so giving and open, especially in community theater, most people are there to support, and it's just this full open experience. And so, yeah, that was definitely the moment when I got hooked on performing and really feeling that energy exchange, because to me, that's what making sound oftentimes in story form is song. That's what I see song as. And so having that ability to communicate on a deeper level with emotions and having that amazing exchange with an audience was later something that I experienced through music festivals, through going to auditions, and so that's what really got me on the path of being a musician. However, I think on another side of things, this was it was a musical journey, but it was always also a spiritual journey,
Mm,
because layered within the study of singing for me was the analysis of poetry and texts from
mm,
centuries, and so connecting with different artistic minds throughout time that we have recorded, um, gave me this little bit of um, extra knowledge that came along with my singing studies that I feel really informed who I was as a performer, and how deep I would go with my performance and my song and my sharing. And so one thing that is always something that I love the experience of is when I'm singing, especially when there's young folks out in the audience, like say 2 or 3. I tend to focus my energy on these little ones as I'm singing, because you can see within their face how open they are to receiving your
mm,
sound, to receiving your
mm,
story, and so that's something that led me to wanting to work with some younger students as well.
mm,
So through my journey, when I graduated, I wasn't performing as much, and then I wasn't sure how to use all this wonderful knowledge that I have.
mhm,
But fortunately, I was living in a community where I was put to work as we were in northern BC, and so
mm,
there weren't many singing teachers, and so as soon as one person heard that, oh, there's a singing teacher in town, then I could have as many students as I wanted, and it was wonderful because I was able to really share my love for storytelling, my love for making big sound, challenging
mm,
people to use their vocal instrument in ways that they didn't think was possible. They thought that was only for, the person on an opera stage or
mm,
something like that. So,
mhm,
my journey definitely has shifted from one of being very passionate about audience exchange to
mhm,
being very passionate about sharing that knowledge and wisdom over time that I've learned with using singing as a tool to fully express yourself, to fully come into your body as it was meant to resonate in this beautiful world. So
mm,
that really that's where I'm at these days, and it was such a wonderful journey um, to experience teaching on a different level with many different ages, and yeah, so
cool.
that's my little journey so far.
Great. That's great. Well, it's interesting because I've been thinking about sound and how I mean, the use of sound is ancient in terms of sound bath. We sometimes we think, oh, this is a fairly recent type of development or tool that we have, but it has been around for a long time, right?
Mhm.
It's in terms of the sound bath experience. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, voice and vibration has been around for a long time, but I think about the Tibetan singing bowls have been around for centuries, right? And
Mhm.
so I think that it's something that we're coming back to. And the other thing it makes me think
Yeah.
of is that we've been so focused on being head centered, like
Mhm.
everything is in our mind. And I don't know if you're aware of the human design system. My last 2 podcasts were on that. And we've shifted
So
from
familiar.
we've shifted from head authority to body. And I think
Hmm.
that's why people are now becoming so attracted to sound, because
Mhm.
that's where we feel the vibration, right? It's in our body.
Yeah.
You can't think through sound. I mean, you can
No.
analyze it, but you don't experience it. unless it's in your whole body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that link to emotion as well, and where we
Mm,
hold things in our body, is also very relevant to this conversation with getting out of that seven-centered being, all up being in our head, and then down. Now we're down into our nine-centered being in our body, and
exactly.
all of us are different in how we are all experiencing things. But I think that something that brings us together and connects us in an amazing way, which nothing else can, is creating sound together. And now that we have technology, we are able to know what is happening in the body when
Mhm.
that's happening. Previously, it was just a knowing of we do this and we feel this and we feel better. But now we know, our heartbeats sync up. There's a boost of dopamine. There are so many things that help to align our bodies when we are creating sound together, that it can really pull us into this wonderful state of balance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about emotion is so interesting because I can remember as a kid, my dad, I'm Eastern European, and so I think it's partly that too. Like my dad wasn't afraid to cry, but he would be listening to a choir or some type of a musical performance, and he would just cry. Like he would just cry. And I mean, I do that too. If I hear a song, I have absolutely no control. My mind is just can't. It just hits my body, hits my emotions. And I think that's the beauty of vibration, is that it really it goes past your mind into your
Mhm.
core.
Yeah.
And you have this amazing experience
Yeah.
that
Well, it's working on two levels there,
mm,
right? Because you're having that visceral sensation, that physical in-body experience of vibration affecting your energy fields and affecting your energy meridians and your chakras. So
mhm,
a moving piece of music, maybe including vibrations or frequencies that are unlocking channels for yourself and getting things
yeah.
flowing and moving. And then you have kind of this like there's neuroscientific aspect of it too,
Mhm,
where sound is so intrinsically linked with memory and emotion. When we're
right.
processing sound, we have like that's still going through our limbic system, it's still going through our hypothalamus, our brain is processing it. So some of these sounds will be triggering up memories for us or emotions because they've been associated with them in the past. And so this is another way that we can use sound as healing, actually, because sometimes it's helpful to have those sounds or different songs that will bring you back to a happy memory or a beautiful moment in your life, a connection with someone that you had.
Mhm,
But then there are also sounds that will bring up uncomfortable feelings.
right.
And so once we have an awareness of that association, well, we can work with that and start to retrain the way that we process that. We can start to change the associations consciously.
Hmm,
So we
hmm,
have it's a pretty powerful tool we can use to either bring us back to a place of self-soothing and comfort, or to face the discomfort and start to
hmm.
break down that neural pathway and rewire.
Yeah, and that's the wonderful blessing of neuroplasticity, right? Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
we are so able to, and this is something that they have done research studies on, is people who sing every day versus people who don't sing every day.
Mhm.
What do their neural pathways, what are the certain strengths that are developed over time?
Hmm,
Um, However, anyone can then get the benefits of singing, but it's the buildup over time and those strengthening of, specifically because when you sing, both sides of your brain are actually engaged, right? You have your left and right brain working, your right brain creatively and tying together the emotions and the creative aspect, and that left brain thinking about the language aspect and all of that, and the mathematical side of music too, right? It's all patterns.
Yes.
And so it is this amazing thing that we do as humans, or have the capability to do as humans, to really strengthen that cross brain neural network, which then gives us amazing capabilities to be resilient, to have this improved vagal tone, which we kind of touched on in my bio a little bit. But when we're talking about vagal tone, it's this. It's the key kind of to that parasympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve is that information highway that links all of our major organs together, and is feeding information both ways constantly to our brain, which then allows us to stay safe. So neuroception is always scanning our environment. And so someone with an improved vagal tone is able to go from a stressed fight or flight state very quickly back to that nice rest digest. And so this is another just bonus reason why, we can have a daily singing practice or a daily mantra or daily chanting, anything that will get that voice and vocal flow moving, to improve our nervous system health, our mental health, all of those things. Yeah.
So Jilda, so you're talking about using your voice to tone the vagus nerve. So if you're listening to music, does that also help to tone it, or does it come from internal?
It is. It is an internal mechanism. So even gargling salt water will do this as well. There are many other things that will create vocal tone. Also cold therapy, if that's your thing, if cold showers are your thing. But it is an internal mechanism. So, listening can put someone in a parasympathetic state, and give them that momentarily nice, relaxing state to be experiencing. However, the actual act of singing will create kind of like a massage in this area. So we have the vagus nerve, there's a very big cluster kind of close to the voice box. And so you can give nice massage here as well. And that's also said to be very good for that vagal tone. But then also we have the ability to hum and sing creates vibration specifically in this area, but throughout your whole body. And as we are holistic, a full, interconnected being, all of those effects play into that whole vagal toning mechanism.
Interesting. The having done your workshop, I now I chant in the shower.
Nice.
Love it. Yeah,
It's the best place because there's this nice echo coming back.
Yeah, it's my favorite place to practice singing.
That's great. I need to learn more about that, the vagal turn in the vagus nerve, because a friend of mine out in Penticton, BC, has done a lot of studying of that, and it just kind of keeps popping up. So I need to really look into that. That's so interesting. So the I mean, there are a lot of benefits, and you're talking about one of them being, the balancing of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. What are some of the other benefits of sound bath or sound in general?
Well, I think that the biggest, I think maybe most important effect is that it is restorative for your nervous system. So whether you are singing, and as Jilda said, even listening to sound can help to induce that parasympathetic nervous activation. It can be really restorative for you. So singing or experiencing sound bathing, it's on one hand, replenishing. So usually people who have been singing, they feel relaxed, right?
Mhm.
They feel calm. Even if the song is, an exciting jam, they are connecting with their breath more, and
Mm,
just like giving nice, good
mm,
endorphins throughout the body. So you get a really
mhm,
good uh, calming sensation throughout the body. But I think another side of it that can be really helpful is removing blocks for us,
mm,
helping us to shift our own energy so we can change our energetic state. And again, from like a holistic perspective, whatever's happening in your psyche, so
mhm,
your emotional state, what activities going on in your mind in that moment, even physically what you're going through, any conditions that you might be struggling with, um, we can see that, or we can sense and feel it in the energy system as well.
mm,
And so sound is one form of vibration that can directly affect our energy. When we shift our energy, we also can help to relieve some of that stress in the mind or reduce some of the anxiety. We can elevate and shift energy to help reduce depression, um, even if it's just for that duration of time,
yep,
right?
yep,
And then we can also help to uncoil some of the energetic blockages that might be related to those physical conditions.
mm,
Because from a yogic perspective, when the first time that we notice any illness or dis-ease is through the energy body, through the energy
right.
system. And when we, usually we, on a normal basis, we're living busy lives. We're trying to keep up with our productivity and keep things going. And so we might not slow down and take enough time to really notice those things on that subtle level. Then, eventually those things start to build, and maybe we start to have some emotional or psychological manifestation of that. And if we kind of ignore it long enough, then it becomes a physical problem that we have to deal with.
Mm,
So, through sound or through energy or vibrational healing, we can kind of work to, undo those effects, bring it all the way back, and by initiating change through the energy system.
mm,
So your own voice can be doing this. Singing bowls can do this.
mhm,
Our gong can do this.
mhm,
Rain sticks, rattles, drumming, piano, violin, any type of instrument, really. If you're using it, mindfully, then you can use it to shift your own energy and to change your psycho-emotional state and improve your physical body as well.
Well, this just popped into my mind, but one of the things I really hate to do is housework. I hate
Yeah.
cleaning, but if I put on some really good dance music, everything changes.
There you go. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just have to pull the old Mary Poppins trick, right? A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine
There
go
you go.
down.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just sing a song and it'll all just go by quickly.
That's
Like,
it.
I feel like definitely have taken this into all of our, psyches through Disney. But but maybe it's this element of like, you are your own Disney princess, and just lit
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
we can all sing to the birds and the animals and be Snow White,
Or be the Wicked Witch.
or that
That's
too.
right.
And
Yeah.
so that's another element that I love about incorporating within is musical experimentation, is
Mhm.
taking on different characters. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
someone who, in my everyday life is, an angry person, but that doesn't mean I don't experience anger. And so
Right.
how can I use music to amplify feelings that maybe I have at a smaller level, and really allow that to let them
Mhm.
go,
Mhm.
which is a
Yeah.
really cool thing. And that's where I see what Jordan was just touching on with the intention piece. It's like we
Mhm.
create create the intention for all of this to have the most powerful effect, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an important thing that you're mentioning, like giving yourself permission to express those uncomfortable or undesirable emotions or feelings in a safe, controlled way. Like I'm using song, or I'm going to listen to that sad song when I'm feeling really low because I want to allow myself to experience where I'm at in that moment. And by
Exactly.
doing that, it can move, right? It shifts,
Yeah.
and you're not like stuck there. Maybe,
Yes.
you have that, 5 minutes of feeling really yucky because you're singing that song. And then the next song comes on. You've allowed that its space. You've honored that emotion, right?
Good point.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm realizing that I know what a sound bath is, but I don't know that everybody knows what a sound bath is. So let's talk a little bit about what constitutes a sound bath experience.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that too, because a lot of times people do, who've never heard of it will say, like, do I have to be naked for this? Like, am I like, no, no, you keep your clothes
Oh
on,
no.
please. Uh, so a sound bath is really like an immersion in sound waves that can be extremely cleansing. It can be replenishing, it can be restorative, and it can also be exciting. So yeah, sound bathing is truly like it sounds. You are just bathing in sound. You're being fully immersed in it, and you're also setting a mindful intention to allow the sound to wash over you, to move through you. So sound bathing is it's a wonderful experience. If any of you haven't had one before who's listening, like I highly recommend it,
Yes,
no
yes,
matter
yes.
where you are. And
Mhm.
as Crystal mentioned, is becoming more well known again as a important practice. A lot of these ancient wisdom techniques do circle back and into our consciousness, into our awareness, and we like to play them out again. So sound bathing usually includes, you just lying down, resting, supported by props, and covered up, feeling comfortable, and then a practitioner using various instruments to create a soundscape to fill the environment with sound in a intentional way. So a sound bath may have a bit of a story or a journey through it,
Mm.
where we start out perhaps feeling as if we're being rained on. We've got the rain stick happening and the rattles, and there's a moodiness to it. Maybe a storm is brewing, and this kind of allows the body and mind to enter into a dream-like state where we're allowing the storm of our own emotion to rise to the surface and be swept away, maybe into the waves, right? We've got the ocean drum going, perhaps. So, and then there could be a moment of ease and grace, and maybe we're using singing bowls to elicit feelings of, spiritual connection and flow. So lots of different instruments might come into play. I also use grounding sounds. So I'll use my
Mm.
drum, or I'll use chimes to help like bring us back into the body. So sound bathing is quite an experience. It can feel like you're a part of a theatrical experience. And
Mm.
I love the comments that I get afterwards after doing a sound bath. Some people feel like they were out in space, or some people feel like they're just floating on an ocean, or that they don't even have any attachment to their body any longer.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
Some people have very visceral sensations. They'll feel the vibrations as,
Yeah.
tingling at the crown of their head, or a weight in their chest until it moves, until the sound changes into something else. And other people, will cry. They'll allow that expression of emotion. Maybe some of the sounds help to release some grief,
Yeah,
So there's the thing is that's interesting is that no sound bath is ever the same.
that's right.
It always changes because we're changing. We are
Yes.
always in a state of change. And So a practitioner is going to enter into a room probably with, and at least in my own experience, I've got a rough idea of where I'm headed with this.
Mhm.
The bottom line, the bottom intention is always to, do no harm and
Mhm.
to provide whatever is needed for those people at that moment. But yeah, things always change because of how the feel of the room is, of how, maybe some people entered and they're really needing to rest, or maybe some
Right.
people entered and they're super anxious. So, it always kind of changes the way that the soundscape is structured.
Mm.
Yeah.
So thank you. That was great. And so so a sound bath is you just kind of go in and you have a certain intention, but people could also come to you for like a vibrational healing session, correct? And is that
Yeah.
would you characterize that differently? What are the similarities? What's your focus for a vibrational healing session?
So, a vibrational healing session does incorporate sound bathing.
Mm.
So, I'll still be using a plethora of instruments and my own voice to help shift energy, to restore the nervous system, and to help you release energetic blocks or stagnancies.
Mhm.
But I also use the modalities of Reiki and
Mm.
shamanic healing in a
Okay.
vibrational healing session. So I'm using, direct channeling of energy. I
Mhm.
do an energetic assessment as well. So at
Mhm.
the beginning, as I'm guiding you into relaxation, I'm checking through your energy system to
Mhm.
see, where are there imbalances? Is there anything that this person's ready to let go of that I can
Mhm.
help specifically with? Um, there is an offering of Reiki, and using the technique of shamanism, I'm also calling in that person's spiritual guides as well as my
Mhm.
own to support in the facilitation of spiritual healing.
Mhm.
So there's more at play in a
Right.
vibrational healing session. It's much more individualistic. So I do sessions for, one person at a time, up
Mhm.
to a maximum of 8
Mm.
people. um, because sometimes people, will come to me and it's a family unit and they have
Right.
all gone through something, they all need some
Yep.
support. Sometimes it's just, some friends who, I mean, who hasn't experienced like
Yes.
stress and difficult times, right? We could all use some help sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do keep it in small groups so that I can be much more focused.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I'm just thinking of my own experience. My gosh, it's probably 5 or 6 years ago of an individual session that I had, and how in the experience, you really kind of lose a sense of time and space, and also worlds. It's like the wall kind of disintegrates, and then there's an expansion,
Yeah.
because I felt that as I was having the experience, it was kind of like there was a dome and my relatives were around me. It was really quite extraordinary. It was very, very
Mhm.
powerful. And of course, I thought, okay, was I asleep? Was I dreaming? I thought, no, that was really happening, because it was so, I mean, my body was just vibrating from the experience. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I would recommend anyone experience both the sound bath as well as the vibrational healing session, because we all have blocks
Mhm.
everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah.
The Oh, there was another thing that I wrote down. I just wanted to okay, so one of the things too that's really important about sound bathing is it's not just the using your voice, but it's also using your breath. So maybe talk a little bit about what's that about, using our breath. I mean, obviously breath is essential. Otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, like the beginning of sound all starts with a big breath in, right?
Mm, yes.
In the beginning, There was the word. We had to breathe, right? There was that breath
Right.
of life that
Yes.
came first. So breathing helps us to, well, in many different ways. And when it comes to using our voices and using our voices for sound healing, but for one thing, it helps us to tone our diaphragm, like conscious
Mm.
breathing using
Mhm. Mhm.
pranayama or breath control techniques. Helps us to tone our diaphragm so that we can really expand our lung capacity and start breathing deeper, fuller breaths.
Mhm.
And this can allow us to manipulate how we're using our sound, how much power or projection we're using, how
Mhm.
long, or the rhythm that we're going to be using that voice with, or to get us into the deep range, we have to take a deep breath and really,
Right.
be able to hold that big open tone. And we also have to use our breath in a different way to get up into higher pitches. And
Mm.
Jilda can certainly speak more to this. But yeah, I think breath is extremely important, especially if we're going to use it for creation of mantra and changing our awareness, or expanding our awareness rather, of what's going on in our body in the first place.
Mm. Mm.
Yes, I do think we're kind of talking about two aspects here, like the taking in of sound and the putting out of sound, right? And
Mhm.
so like when we're talking about breath in reference to a sound bath, if you're experiencing sound and experiencing that wonderful sea of a symphony of noise being put all around your body through your energetic field, it's more of you're coming into awareness, right, of your breath and what is this sound making my breath do. Is it shallow? Is it, oh, that rattle is kind of just not allowing me to really breathe deep into like my whole pelvic floor, because it's creating anxiety within my body. What is that telling
Mm.
me? What is this information?
Mm.
Whereas, what I love about the using mantra in my own practice is that you're using the breath to then channel the sound, right? So instead of the sound being the input, you're creating that output, but then you're creating that vibratory resonance with your own instrument,
Mm.
allowing it to resonate out from within. And I think that there's something extremely powerful about that because it really does bring us into this state of knowing within ourselves, or a connection to to spirit. For me personally, there have been, I think, my most spiritual moments that I've had in my life, whether I can think of a few while being on stage and having that energetic exchange with people.
Mm.
But it's because I'm resonating this sound out from my core of my being, and as a very open energetic channel that has created this specific vessel to then allow it to ring freely and communicate clearly.
Mm.
um, Other people are able to have that experience from my own creation of sound. And what a gift if we are then creating it together, allowing us ourselves to resonate out and let our vibratory resonance affect others and also ourselves. I think it's a very powerful thing. And so we do see that choirs in Canada, like there are many community choirs. And
Mhm.
so something, if you want to find a connection to your community, highly recommend. I was not a choir person growing up, and I have slowly been turned into a choir person over time with this knowledge that we as humans are social beings. We are craving that connection, and I definitely think over the last few years we felt the absence of that connection in a
Yes.
really dear way that
Yeah.
informed how we want to show up now in the future,
Mm.
and coming together. So I think that the breath is yeah, obviously where it all starts, but it's the fuel to the car. But it doesn't end there, and it just keeps on continuing to grow from there.
In a moment, we'll talk about where people can experience a sound bath with you. But before I talk about that, could we do a little exercise for people? Either a mantra or a breath exercise, just to kind of give them a taste of what they might experience.
Oh,
What do you
sure.
think?
Mhm.
Well, actually, the first thing that came to mind was just like bumblebee breath. So we can
Mm,
start humming and feeling our vibration, like just
Ooh.
opening
yes.
up our own connection to our sound. Does that
Yeah,
sound good?
and that, and also this is a really great vagal toning exercise.
Yeah.
So it
Perfect.
works in many ways.
Yeah, and it's super accessible. Like every single human being with a vocal box can do this. Right? And it
Yeah.
deepens our connection to our breath.
Uh-huh.
So in this practice, we just sit with a nice straight spine. We relax our feet down onto the floor. We start to notice how we're breathing and where we're breathing in the body. If it feels right, you can close your eyes for a moment. If you'd rather have the eyes open, just look down into your lap, feeling the belly expand as we breathe in, and feeling the belly come back towards the spine as we exhale. And just continue to feel your own flow and rhythm of breath. And in a moment, all that we will add into this is a little hum on our exhale. So you're going to start buzzing a little bit like a bumblebee. You may notice that physical vibration around your nose, your forehead, your throat. You might feel it down your shoulders and in your chest. And you may even feel it resonating deep in your belly. So let's give it a try for a few rounds. We'll breathe in through the nose and hum out our exhales. Let's do two more times. Breathing in again. Let's just hold the breath in for a brief moment. Notice how you feel in the body. And slowly exhale. Allowing your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Yeah.
Oh, I could feel the vibration on the vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Very
Yeah.
cool. Wow. Wow.
It's so transformative, eh? Within a few rounds, you already start to calm the body down. If you had any anxiety in your belly, you were probably relaxing that a little bit. it really clears your mind because you're just creating a louder vibration.
That was one thing that I really noticed with it is the
Yeah.
clarity. Mm. And
Nice.
even kind of, yeah, it gives you this awakening feeling too, if you're feeling a little lethargic, right?
That's
Coming
true.
into that, and just allowing and feeling the sound, tickling in within your face mask, your throat,
Yeah.
into your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little massage too.
Yeah, and what a great exercise if someone is working in a stressful situation, just to get up, go for a little walk, do that exercise, or find a corner and just sit and do that. Like, what did we do it for? Like 45 seconds,
Yeah.
and it just lifted. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you.
It's oh yeah, my pleasure. I
Yeah,
love to share
yeah.
this stuff.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
And just real briefly, what is a mantra? Can you talk about that, Jilda?
Yeah, absolutely. So a mantra, there are a few different, depending on what lineage you're coming from, there are a few different ways to interpret this. One that I have heard that I really like the interpretation of is man is mind and tra is motion. So, or also I've heard it translated as vehicle. So a mantra can be a vehicle for your mind to help you focus a certain intention, creating very specific intention with your breath and with sound. So a mantra can be traditional in that it is in Gurmukhi or different languages. Many different ways to create a mantra. You can also create your own mantra with just a very sacred word that means something very deep to you. And so there, we can recite or create our own mantras, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And can create that kind of framework for intention behind this power of sound that we have.
Cool. And it just makes me think of how historically mantras have always been present for humans, whether it was around a fire or if it was in a monastery or wherever. That chanting is really a part of who we are, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So do you have upcoming offerings that you could tell people about?
Well, we certainly do.
Great.
So, well, first off, Crystal invited us to do this beautiful podcast after she took part in our Power of Sound workshop that Jilda and I paired up to do. So we're doing it again.
Oh.
We'll be offering it again in September. I just want to make sure I don't mess up my dates. September 16th.
Great.
We'll be pairing up again, this dynamic duo that we have here,
Awesome.
offering our Power of Sound. And in that workshop, we do explore different avenues of sound healing. We go a little bit more in depth into how to use your voice, using mantra, using breath, and using all of these techniques combined to explore different yogic techniques in addressing our own energy system using sound. And then there's also a sound immersion or a sound bathing experience as well. So that's a fun workshop for those interested.
We kind of like to keep it very informative and experiential. Yes. So there's a little bit of both going on.
Yeah, we have a lot of group exercises that we play out together.
I highly recommend it. It was really a great experience because I like to learn about what's happening as well as experience it, and it was a great balance. Excellent.
Cool.
Thank you.
So that's coming up, and then I have a Magic of Mantra workshop coming up as well, and that'll be on July 8th. So we dive in a little bit deeper into what mantra is, a little bit about history of use of mantra, but also how we use mantra today, how we can start incorporating it into our daily lives. We'll do a little tidbit on some really important mantras that we use a lot in different yogic practices, their meanings, their effects, and then we'll explore personal mantras and creation of mantras that are more individualistic for us. So that'll be fun.
Great.
And then we do have our public sound bathing as well. So it's typically the first Friday of every month. So the one in May is full already, but we've got June 2nd, July 7th, and August 4th are the next upcoming sound bathing sessions that you're welcome to join in.
And they fill up very quickly.
They do, because I tried to get in.
Absolutely.
Difficult
Yeah.
to get in, so make your reservations
Yeah,
for
you go,
sure.
plan ahead.
Great.
Yeah, and then just one other thing I thought I'd pop in here also is that I offer a gong meditation class
Oh.
every Saturday morning.
Mhm.
So the gong is a really, really interesting instrument to be used for sound healing. So this is a guided meditation, or rather, we discuss different forms of meditation, different types. So
Mhm.
each week we kind of mix it up and try on a different meditation. And I play the gong while we're meditating and during Shavasana. So that's a really nice option. That's every Saturday morning at 9:30 at A State of Health. So if you're interested, you can join us.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
And I will, I'm going to put the link on at the end of the podcast and the YouTube video so that people know where to contact you at A State of Health and are
Perfect.
able to access these wonderful offerings that you have.
Yeah, thank
Any
you.
last words?
This was so wonderful, just sharing in our excitement of sound. It's just been so lovely. I always love to just talk about anything frequency related. So thank you for inviting us.
You're very
Absolutely.
welcome.
Yeah, sing on.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Good. Well, thank you both. And thank you to our listeners today. I think that after listening to Jilda and Jordan, I hope that you will take part in a sound bath with your clothes on, of course, and really explore the healing properties of sound bath and getting into the vibration that your body experiences, but it impacts every aspect, our body, mind, soul, spirit, emotions, every aspect of who we are. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you continue to explore your own journey to inner wisdom. See you next time.